And thanks, Beth, for doing that for us. It is now 9:30 on this gorgeous Tuesday morning.
Nice.
Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning. I know, I think it's kind of funny. It was sunny before spring break started, and now it's sunny after spring break started. Or was over.
Oregon spring break. We
I
had
know.
this nice weather for the tourists.
Right,
you know,
for the Californians that are coming
and
up.
the Washingtonians. Yeah.
Lucky them. I am here this morning with Claire and Bob. You're a part of the Tillamook Beekeepers Association, and you are putting on Bee Day, which is on Saturday. Sounds like super fun. Can we talk a little bit about just kind of the high-level details of Bee Day, when it is? Well, obviously Saturday, but what time, how much it costs, who's invited?
Well, the cost of it's $15.
Which includes lunch.
It includes lunch. And the whole thing is geared to trying to get people acquainted with beekeeping. We can't teach them everything they need to know in one day. Is to give them an overview so that they know where they can start.
Right. Make a decision if that's something they want to do.
And their best deal is to probably get with a beekeeper that's already got some bees for this first year, and then kind of watch and observe and see what's going on. Then next spring, when we order bees, then they can get their first call in and get started.
And they can make those connections at Bee Day, right? Well, there'll be people there that they can...
Or they can come to our regular monthly meeting. We meet once a month, the second Tuesday of the month, every month except for December. We don't have a meeting in December.
And that's the Tillamook Beekeepers Association.
Beekeepers. We meet in Bay City at the Fresh Foods
Market.
Yeah.
Great. So it's 8:30 to 3 on Saturday, $15, but... Claire, you were saying you wanted people to kind of, if they could, call today just to give you an RSVP. You don't have to buy your ticket today.
Yes.
But so that you can make sure you have enough lunches, right?
Correct, yes. The Bee Day is sponsored by the OSU Extension Office and the TCCA Farms Store. And you could get tickets from either of those places, but you could also get tickets at the door. But in order to know how many people to provide lunch for, if you were to call OSU Extension Office at 503-842-3433 and just tell them you're coming, then they keep a track of it, and that will let us know how many to prepare lunch for. And if you could do that today or tomorrow, that'd be great. So
Sure, yeah, just so you can get ahead of it. And I see on the flyer, kids under 12 are free, so kids
Correct.
are welcome
Correct.
to the event.
Yes. I'm not sure whether 3 or 4-year-olds would find it very interesting.
Right,
but,
sure.
Yeah.
it's kind of a long day, too,
Yes,
8:30
exactly.
to 3. You might want to reconsider that if you're thinking
Yes.
about it.
Yeah.
But it does say beginner's welcome. So like you were saying, Bob, it's a great opportunity to kind of understand what goes into beekeeping and the supplies that you need and all that kind of stuff, right? And the diseases and things that may affect bees, how to keep bees.
Correct.
Right?
Yes, correct. Yes, we have a guest speaker, Dr. Dewey Karen, and he's very famous in the industry. We're very lucky to have him. And he will speak for a little while. And then we have what we call breakout sessions. And we could talk about those whenever. There are like 4 of them going on simultaneously. And you go around and you actually see a hands-on presentation to various things.
Oh, great.
We're also starting the day with a honey tasting. And so
that's fun.
our breakfast breads, you'll have local honeys, and you will be amazed how different the honeys from various beekeepers all within Tillamook County taste. So it's a very exciting day. People will always have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've tasted honey at the farmer's market. Who did you say was
West
it?
Preston, yes.
Yeah, and it was very interesting to taste. He had blackberry honey and some other kinds of honey, and I could really taste the difference between the different honeys, and like I could taste the blackberry and the blackberry honey. It was amazing and delicious. Yeah.
Good.
And we should mention, because I don't think we did, it's at Fairview Grange.
It is.
Right,
That's
on
right
Saturday.
on 3rd Street. Yes.
So how did you guys get into beekeeping?
Well, I was working on my uncle's ranch in Texas, and that job folded up with his death. And had got interested in bees down there. So when I moved back to Oregon, I was going to go into commercial beekeeping. And about 3 years into it, when it was getting time to think about a truck and a forklift and all that, I decided that I would stay a sideliner and keep my job as in the Halem grade school, which I did. And so I've kept bees since May of 1980.
Wow.
So
Wow. How many hives do you have?
I don't have any right now.
Oh, you don't?
I lost them all through the winter. But
Oh.
prior to the mites coming, I was running 150, 200 colonies.
Wow.
And then when the mites come along, working a job, and I couldn't keep up with all the medications and stuff, so
Yeah, Claire and I were talking about that before we went on the radio, that it's a nationwide problem, you said.
Worldwide.
Right? Or worldwide, sorry.
I think Australia is the only country that doesn't have them.
Yeah, and they're mites that get into the cells or something like that. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, there's things you have to know about. I mean, it's a living creature. You have to be able to take care of them. So you have to have that time, I suppose.
And I don't know that it's so much the mite that's causing the problems. Over the years, they put so many chemicals and things in there trying to control them. And also, they when the mite bites into the bees, that makes an entrance into the bee for viruses and diseases to enter the bee that's not really connected with the mite. So, and they have not been able to figure out exactly what's going on yet. They think they're finding something out, and then they find out that
it's a wormhole. Just keeps going,
keeps going,
deeper and deeper. But you are the president of the Beekeepers Association, right? And then Claire, you're the secretary. And how long have you been beekeeping?
Only 2 years, and actually, it's less than 2 years. And what happened to me is, I like to say, the bees chose me. A swarm landed in my blackberry bushes, and I was deathly afraid of them. There was no way I was going to be a beekeeper. And a friend came and brought a little box and shook them very gently from the blackberry bush into the box. And when I saw how beautiful they were, and they didn't care the slightest bit that I was looking at them, they were just sort of like ants, they were just doing their thing. I said, these bees chose me, I'm keeping them. And so I raced to Portland the same day, got a hive, called Bob, who helped me transfer them from the box my friend put them into the hive that I had bought. And I became addicted. I am totally addicted to watching the bees and learning about bees and all of that. And I love them.
Now, were you a part of the Beekeepers Association before?
Oh, no, I had no interest in bees. In fact, I was considered myself afraid of bees until I saw how honeybees are really not aggressive unless you go into their hive. They're on a mission. They want to collect pollen and nectar and water and keep the colony alive, and they care nothing about you, so, and they're just so beautiful to watch, they're just great. So
and talking about the aggressive ones,
that's like
those are the
Africanized
hornets and the yellow jackets and the wasp and things. You don't consider those bees, right? Or do you don't call them bees?
I don't think you call them bees. They're just
yellow jackets,
right? Yeah, or wasp or hornets.
Yes.
And those are usually long-bodied with long
they're
legs.
They're not soft and fuzzy. If they're soft and fuzzy, they can be. Honeybees can be light or dark. They can be various colors, even within the same hive. But they're fuzzy. They're small, and they're not the big bumblebee, which is the black and yellow bumblebee.
Huge,
huge,
which are fun to watch too, because they kind of
yes.
They look a little dopey when they're flying in the air. They're kind of fun. We're going to take a quick break and talk about Clark's Plumbing, and then when we come back, we can talk a little bit more in detail about Bee Day and what people can expect. Do you know one of those do-it-yourself kind of guys? They're always telling you to do it yourself. Sometimes that isn't the best solution. You're in luck, whether it's a leaky faucet, a complete bathroom remodel, or maybe replacing that septic system. Do yourself a favor. Call Clark's Plumbing. They're professionals, and they'll get the job done. Anything, new installations, upgrades, that stopped-up drain, you name it, they can do it. So the next time you hear do it yourself, do yourself a favor and dial 842-5105 for Clark's Plumbing. That's 842-5105 for the professionals at Clark's Plumbing. And we are here talking to Claire and Bob from the Tillamook Beekeepers Association. So just in case someone tuned in late, there's Bee Day, open to anyone on Saturday at Fairview Grange from 8:30 to 3. It's $15. Please try to call today or tomorrow just to reserve your spot. You don't have to pay until you get to the door, or you can go pick up a ticket at the OSU Extension Office or the farm store, the Tillamook County Creamery Farm Store. Can you go into a little bit more in depth of what the breakout sessions are, and just kind of a general overview of what type of things are going to be discussed?
They'll have, I think, 4 stations, and they will be different aspects of beekeeping.
Mm-hmm.
Some will be showing equipment. Some will be showing how to do stuff, how to do the manipulations,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just an overview because we can't cover everything in one day's time. It's just kind of give everybody an overview, and then it's up to them if they get interested in it to get a hold of an established beekeeper and see what they do, and that's where we go from there.
So I'm looking at your agenda, and it looks like, and I don't know, what's a Langstroth hive?
It's the most common kind of hive here, and there are a few different types of hives, and we'll have some of those on display, but the most common kind of hive is a Langstroth hive.
So you'll have a session of how to assemble one, build one.
Yes, and the
one.
parts and what the purpose of each part of the hive is, yes. And then another person is doing protective gear with the veils and the gloves and all of that, and how to light a smoker. When you work with bees, you generally, you generally smoke them just a little bit because it
makes
calms
them drowsy.
Yeah, well, it calms them, yes. And then there's products of the hive. Hives don't just produce honey; they also produce the wax, and they produce propolis, and they produce royal jelly, and so there's that. And then if you were to buy a package of bees, one of our members is showing you what it would take to install that package into a hive. And each session lasts 15 minutes, and you can ask all these questions. It's very interactive, and it's lots of fun, of fun.
Well, and it sounds, if you are interested at all in beekeeping, because there's been a lot of talk in the news about how bees are, becoming endangered because their colonies are dying off.
Right.
So, people that maybe want to be interested or have considered being interested in beekeeping can come and kind of understand how all of that works and that kind of thing.
Correct.
And if we were talking earlier, if you don't want to maybe have a hive, there are things you can do in your landscaping and around your house or around your yard or whatever to help maintain and help out the bees that just live in general and nature.
Right.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, correct. Well, first of all, planting what's called forage crops or plants, and the most common is buckwheat that you could buy at the farm store. It's very cheap, and it goes from seed to flower in 1 month.
Wow.
And it's white flowers. The bees love buckwheat. They love borage, which is blue, and you could actually eat it on salads yourself and everything, and the bees love it. And I'm told borage honey is very good. And they like cosmos and cleum. There are certain plants you can plant that bees really like. So you could do that, and then you also have to be very careful with your use of insecticides and pesticides. And
Sure.
if you must spray, you use the proper solution, and don't spray when the weeds are in bloom. You would want to spray the green when they're just green. Mm-hmm. And then the third thing a person could do is if you happen to see a swarm, which it looks like a pineapple hanging from a bush or a tree, OSU Extension Office has a list of swarm catchers from the group, divided by North County, Central County, and South County. And you could call the Extension Office, and they'll pass on that information to one of the beekeepers, and we'll come out and take those bees and start a new colony, and maybe even name it after you if you if you call in the bees. And we get a lot of swarm calls, and I don't know how many, would you say 15 or 20 swarm calls a year?
Yeah, something like that. It's not near. Used to be before the mites showed up, they would run us ragged with swarm calls because you just got swarm after swarm after swarm. But since the mite problem showed up, you don't get that many swarms anymore. So.
Yeah, and swarms are not in a hive already, correct?
Do you want to explain, Bob, how they?
Reason they swarm is they're in a cavity or they're in a box. And they start building up in the spring. And along in May, 1st of June, they get built up pretty good. So once they get their space filled up, their natural way to make the species go is to swarm. So they'll build a bunch of swarm cells, and then the old bees and the queen, they will leave, take about half the bees with them. They've got a swarm cell there that's due to hatch not too many days after that. That queen hatches, she gets mated, comes in, that hive keeps going. The new hive they found a place to live, and they keep developing into another
Oh,
hive.
interesting. So the hive the colony kind of splits.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So the job of the beekeeper is to try to manage your bees in such a way that you don't have them swarm on you. Because once they swarm, you lose about half of them. Then that cuts down on your honey production.
And they could go somewhere else. They're not maybe staying on your property, right?
No, they're going to fly.
Yeah.
The queen, she's heavy, and before they swarm, they have to try to run her around the hive and get her to slim down a little bit so she can fly. And usually when they leave the hive, they'll fly just a little bit because she's not adapted to flying.
Sure.
And wherever she lands, and that's where they swarm, or they'll get in a bundle. And then the rest of the bees, some of them, they'll start looking for a cavity or a place to go. And if nobody picks them up, then eventually they'll find a tree or a house or a building or something to get into. Then those bees come back and they do the dances and whatever and get everybody else all excited. They all take off for the new location.
They do sound like a very interesting insect, I guess.
Yes,
They're insect.
Yeah.
So if you see a swarm, they're not necessarily in something, right? Because do bees build their own nest?
If they swarm on a bush or a tree and they don't find a place to go, they'll start a swarm. Building a comb right there on the tree. The only problem with that is, with good weather, they'll survive.
Right, but there's nothing to protect them.
But you get into the winter time, and they're gonna lose. But so they don't do that very often. Most of the time, they find some place to get into.
So they're not like, because what I was thinking when I hear swarm, I think of like the wasps that are living up in the eaves of my house where they have a paper nest. That's not a honeybee. That's not something you guys can help with. I know if you look in the shopper, I think maybe the headlight, there's a guy who collects those hives because then he sells the venom to something.
Yes.
But I remember being a kid, somebody coming out to our house and getting those. But those are not honeybees.
Yes, that's right.
So when you've got around your house, you want to make sure you've got all your eaves and everything, walls all sealed up, because if they're not, it just takes a small hole.
Yeah.
And they'll get in there. You may not even know that they're moving in until you start seeing them flying.
Yeah, and hearing them, I'm sure.
And then it gets a little expensive by the time you start tearing some walls out to get them out of there. So.
Right, and honey in your walls.
Yeah.
That's exciting. So if you see a swarm, it kind of maybe looks like a fuzzy pineapple.
It does, exactly. And swarms are not at all aggressive. It's almost impossible to get stung by a swarm because they fill their stomach up with honey. They have to survive for 2 or 3 days, and all they're thinking about is survival. And in fact, before I actually had the swarm land in my blackberry bush, I was in the garden working about 3 weeks earlier, and I was standing in the middle of a swarm that came right through my garden.
Wow.
And I was petrified, but I didn't know at the time that they almost can't sting when they're at that stage because of the honey that they're carrying and the mission they're on. So, yeah,
that would be scary though to see a big
if you don't know
black swarm of bees come through.
Yes, and it wasn't above my head; they were all around me.
Oh wow!
And now I consider it a blessing. It was such a beautiful experience. Now that I know about
what it was,
yes.
But when you find a swarm or see a swarm, you want to make sure it just landed there. Because if they've been there for a week or 10 days, that's their home.
Oh, sure.
And so they're going to be aggressive then.
Right.
When they first form, they're not aggressive because they're looking for a place to go. But if they've been there for a week or so, that's their home. and they'll get after you then.
Yeah.
So.
Then maybe they won't be so nice.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break and talk about the co-op. Tillamook is farm country, and nobody serves this farming community better than the co-op. If it's time to get your 4-H or FF animal ready for the fair, the co-op wants to help. FFA and 4-Hers get 10% off feed, grooming equipment, cages, anything they need to get their animal ready. The co-op has been offering quality products since 1936, and they're there for your needs. From fencing to plumbing to electrical, stop by for fuel and pick up everything you need. Tillamook Farmers Co-op is always there for you. So we're talking to Claire and Bob, who are members of the Tillamook Beekeepers Association. So you can come to Bee Day on Saturday at the Fairview Grange, but then you can also attend these meetings. Are they open? Are the beekeepers meetings open to anybody?
Open to anybody.
So if you need, maybe your interest sparks by going to Bee Day, and you think, oh, this is really what I want to do, you can attend a Beekeepers Association meeting and get further education. Like you were saying, Bob, team up with someone who's already an established beekeeper, maybe observe their hives and kind of do some more hands-on learning with them. And then next season, because is this if you wanted to get started, is this the time to do it?
Yeah, we usually get our nukes and our 4-pound packages in April. Try to get them as near the 1st of April as we can get them. Right now, the packages, we're going to get them the 2nd week of April, providing that the beekeeper from McMinnville can get queens so he can shake the packages. And then and about half our people start out with nukes and half of them start out with packages. The only thing with a nuke, it's a small colony that's got a queen's got brood. All you got to do is put it in the box. If you get a package, that's just a screen cage with 4 pounds of bees and a queen in there.
Holy cow, 4 pounds.
You shake that into a box, they have to start from scratch. So they've got to get the workers have got to get the comb drawn out if they're on foundation, or if they're on drawn comb, they have to get things cleaned up. They got to lay the eggs. It takes about 16 to 18 days to get the larvae hatch, and so by the time they get some young bees raised, it's ready to be part of the productive unit. If you've got a package that's got a lot of old bees in there, you've got a good chance of your population dropping off. So it's a choice of which way you want to go. So.
And are those things? Well, you did, installing a package of bees or introducing them to a new hive. So that will be covered on Saturday on the best ways to go about that.
Right, exactly. And our guest speaker is going to talk about inspecting the hive. There's like seasonal jobs. There are things you do every month with the bees, and some months are busier than others. And so Dr. Karen is going to show you how to actually inspect a hive and what you look for in that hive. And talk about the seasonal jobs, what you have to do in April, and what you have to do in June, and what you have to do in September, and all this other stuff. And so it's very educational.
And have you gotten honey out of your hive?
Well,
yet? Or your colonies, whatever
I only had one 2 years ago when I started one hive. And I'm not in it for the honey. I just love watching the bees. And I just, if I take honey, it'll just be, when I have taken honey, but just a little for myself or for some friends. I'm not into it for...
Right, you're not production. I was just curious if you'd had some. Because I think that would be, I mean, that's a cool byproduct is that you get some honey if you have some. Yeah.
Yes. The other thing I wanted to make sure people knew is that we have a raffle at Bee Day, and it's not the kind of raffle you buy tickets for. You get a ticket, and there are all kinds of prizes for the raffle, but the top prize donated by the TCCA Farm Store is an entire beehive.
With bees or just the beehive?
No, just the hive.
Gotcha.
But we can take care of the bees. We'll get you bees. There's no doubt about that. Someone will split their hive and give you some, or we'll catch a swarm, and we'll make sure if you want bees, you'll have bees with your hive. So one lucky person will go home with an actual hive. And an actual hive box.
Right. And we were talking about going back, and I'm sorry, is his name Wes?
Wes, yes.
He. What I love about, I mean, not only is his honey really good at the farmer's market, but he also has an observation
Yes.
What do you call it, an observation hive?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, and that will be there as
Yes,
well, right?
yes,
so you
yes.
can kind
And-
of see the bees in action.
Yes, and we even have a microscope where you could look at bees and wax and varroa mites under the microscope. And there are lots of displays, different kinds of hives. There's this new honey flow hive that maybe people have heard about.
I think I've seen that.
Yes, and a Ware hive and all kinds of other equipment and things. There are lots of displays, too. So.
And and I see lunch will be a soup lunch with a chicken lunch and a vegetarian, and then also a dessert break, which is always exciting for
Yes,
me. I have a
yes.
huge sweet tooth, which is why I like honey so much.
Yes, yes.
I like to have honey just by the spoonful because it's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, a raffle. And then the beekeepers meet every second Tuesday of the month at 7:00 at the Fresh Market in Bay City, right? Mm-hmm. And anybody can stop by. So maybe if someone can't make it on Saturday because they have other plans already, could they just pop in at a meeting and get some more information?
They're welcome to come to any meeting they want to.
Yes.
And
Yes.
one thing with a new person starting out in beekeeping, you need to kind of know what your object is. If your object is to get 100 pounds of honey and
Right.
And that, you're not probably going to be very happy. If you're doing the
Expectations.
bees because you enjoy working with the honeybees, then you'll do all right. But sometimes the first year when you start out, you don't make too much because you end up with some mistakes and you lose your bees.
Right.
So the first year is usually a learning curve.
Yeah.
And then the next year is just a repeat of what you did the first year, except for the weather changes.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so as the weather changes, that changes the whole situation. So
Well, and honeybees just in general are so important to our society and the world because they help pollinate the food that we
Correct.
have. And I know it's been in the news for, a couple of years now that if the bees die, we're kind of up a creek. I mean, we're looking at some issues. And you were saying, swarms there used to be a lot, and now you're not getting very many swarms. I would assume that's because their population has died down a lot.
That's true.
Yeah. So managing, your, like you were saying, Claire, your pesticides and your herbicides or
Right.
insecticides, making sure you're spraying them when the plants are green versus flowering, adding things to your landscape to help attract bees and keep them alive is so important.
Right.
they've got some food crops that if they lose the honeybee, that they can't grow them crops unless they get them pollinated.
Right.
So if they lose the honeybee, then they've got to figure out some
How to
other way to get
pollinate.
them crops pollinated. And
Yeah.
other than that, we may get hungry.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of stuff is required on those, or the bees are required for. So let's just do a brief recap. Bee Day on this coming Saturday. It's $15 a person, which includes lunch. Kids under 12 are free. Please call the extension office or the farm store, the TCCA farm store, to at least RSVP by today or tomorrow, and you can call them at 842-3433. It's from 8:30 to 3 at Fairview Grange. Is there anything else you wanted to cover? We only have about a minute left.
If they don't make the phone call, they can still show up.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
you can show up, but just
Yes.
so that you have a general idea of
Right.
numbers for
Yes.
lunches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, if we don't get very many people to register ahead of time, and then too
might
many
not
of
have
them
some lunch.
come on Saturday, somebody might get a little hungry.
Yes. Okay, great. So tomorrow, State Representative David Gomberg will be here. Well, he'll be on the phone. Don't forget, senior meals, noon every weekday at the Kiowanda Community Center in Pacific City. Costs us $3 for seniors and $6.75 for everyone else. Today and every Tuesday through April 12th, there's free tax aid tax assistance from 3 to 7 by appointment at the library. Also, those of you out in Neatarts, don't forget tomorrow 9 to 5, there's a planned PUD power outage. Saturday is Bee Day that we've been talking about today. And also on Saturday, there's a benefit for the Tillamook Animal Shelter at the Burkhart Gallery in Cloverdale. Noon, there will be refreshments, and then 7 p.m. there will be music with Sonia Kazin and Fred Bassett. It's a $10 suggested donation. Happy birthday to Amy Downing, Christopher Yank, Bowen, and Franklin Weeks. Thank you so much, Bee people. Thanks for coming in, Claire and Bob, and thank you, Tillamook, for listening.